Hi, I'm Michael Dresser. I'm a Wheel of Consent and relating coach. And when it comes to giving, there's often this idea that you somehow have to override your own needs in order to give properly. And so in this video, I want to talk a little bit about why I've actually found that tending to my own needs first is a way of helping myself to be more generous when it comes to what other people want from me. So, in a rush to be useful or to try and fix something for somebody else, we often forget to look after ourselves or to make sure that we're resourced enough. And of course, when you put aside your own needs too much or you don't pay enough attention to your limits, what often happens is that you end up feeling overwhelmed or resentful or like you're giving too much. And I don't know about you, but when I feel like I've been giving too much, it kind of makes me disinclined to want to keep giving or offering to give more. But I recently had an experience which helped me to understand a little bit more about my own relationship with giving and also to understand what enables me to be more generous with my giving. So some friends and I had hired an Airbnb place for the weekend, and it turned out that we'd misunderstood the configuration of the rooms. So when we booked it, we didn't actually have enough rooms for everybody to have their own room, which we thought we would. And that one person was going to have to end up sleeping on a kind of makeshift sofa bed in the main living area, which wasn't really even meant to be a bed. And that room was the only group space, and it had the kitchen at one end of it, so it really wasn't very private or ideal as a bedroom. One of the things that I know about myself is that in order to be a functioning and pleasant human being, I need a lot of privacy. And I'm also a very light sleeper, so I tend to get woken up a lot if there's other people moving around or making noise in the space that I'm sleeping in. So I felt a little bit awkward about insisting on needing my own room, but I did. And fortunately, there was somebody else in our group who was willing to give up the bedroom that they'd been expecting and to take this sofa in the main space. So, having sorted out this hiccup, we then discovered that there wasn't actually enough proper bedding for this sofa bed that we were rigging up. And so, at this point, my friend who'd offered to sleep on it started to feel a little bit less happy about having made that offer. But here's the thing. So, because I'd been able to speak up for what I needed and my desire for my own room had been met, I was much more willing to really wholeheartedly offer up my duvet and my bedding for my friend to use and for me to make do with a blanket and a makeshift pillow for myself. And sure, that was a little bit of an inconvenience for me not to have any proper bedding for a couple of nights, but I felt able to be generous with this because I'd already had my most important need, my need for privacy, met. And this experience illuminated a lot to me about how my willingness to help somebody else or to compromise on something in order for somebody else to get more of what they want is really impacted by how resourced I feel and how many of my needs are already being met. And the reality is that most giving and receiving does involve some kind of negotiation or compromise, and it involves the person being who's giving being willing enough to put aside some of their own desires in that moment in order to focus on what somebody else wants. Now, I've long been a fan of the willingness scale, and I recognize that there's a whole spectrum of willingness from super enthusiastically willing through to only just barely willing. But what this Airbnb experience taught me is that it's not just about being willing to put my desires aside temporarily for someone else's benefit. It actually helps me to be more willing and more generous with my giving when I can make sure that I'm resourced enough first. And essentially, being resourced means attending to my own wants or my own needs. And I guess it's kind of like the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you want to be more generous, the best way to do that is to make sure that your own cup is sufficiently filled up first. Check out my website for more details about how you can learn and practice skills for better giving and better receiving. And like and subscribe below to stay up to date with all my tips and resources.